Appropriations Committee on Labor and Economic Opportunity to order. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll today?
Chair Jenkins Arnold.
Here.
Representatives Robinson, Van Workum. Here. Cabot and Martis.
Here.
And Chair, majority of members are present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We are waiting for a couple more members. Hopefully they'll be on their way, but just have a full plate and want to get going on our presentations today. Just going to be hearing from a variety of different people from MEDC and looking forward to the presentation. So I will invite up Jill Trepkowski. Is that how you say it? Okay, good. Senior Vice President, Chief Financial and Procurement Officer at MEDC, and Christian Armstrong, Senior Vice President of Business Development Programs and Execution, MEDC. You're from MEDC for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Jenkins Arnold and Vice Chair Martis and members of the committee. Grateful to be here with you to discuss the status of MEDC and MSF's work projects for FY25. The first thing to go over, we'd like to talk about is what qualifies as a work project. According to MCL 18.145A, a work project is a one-time, non-recurring effort designed to achieve specific goals. It involves carrying forward the budget authority for the original Appropriation Act to complete the project. A work project remains available until either the project is finished or 48 months after the last day of the fiscal year in which the appropriation was initially made. Any remaining balance will revert back to the state. A work project must meet all of the following criteria. Specific purpose, the work project must have a clear defined purpose or objective. Specific plan, it must include a specific plan aimed at achieving the objective. Estimated completion cost, the project must have an estimated cost of completion, an estimated completion date. A timeline for completion must be provided. The process of designating work projects is structured to ensure clear objectives, proper planning, estimated costs, and completion timelines. Our finance team plays a crucial role in managing these projects, ensuring transparency and maintaining proper reporting channels. Overview of work projects. In FY24, MSF and MEDC has 12 new work projects in the areas of business attraction, placemaking, small business support, and for legislative directed grants. 3 of these were federally funded, 4 are straight restricted funded, and 5 are general fund. And as a breakdown of ongoing and one-time, 6 ongoing, 6 one-time. In the next several slides, you will hear more about some of our key work projects, including business attraction, community revitalization, revitalization and placemaking, small business support hubs, and strategic outreach and attraction reserve fund appropriations. I'd like to take a moment to also clarify what we mean when we talk about these work projects and the funding associated with them. Expended will mean, as you'll see in future slides, these will be highlighted on these work projects. Expended funds have been paid to the award recipient. The award recipient must be in an executed agreement that has been recorded in the accounting system before funds can be dispersed. Outstanding obligations, the remaining funds on awards approved by the approving body is in executed agreements and recorded in the accounting system. Committed, signed MEDC issued offer letter in place or approved by the approving body, but no executed agreement is in place. And then unobligated, available funds that have not been expended, obligated, or committed. Business attraction, community revitalization. While we recognize that our opportunities for improvement in how we approach our work and embrace the value of continuous improvement as a culture value at MEDC, we're proud of what we've accomplished over the years because of our core legislatively approved line items that make up the foundation of our work. Our core funding line item is the Business Attraction Community Revitalization line, or BACR. Within that line item, we fund a series of activities and projects, including the Michigan Business Development Program, the Michigan Community Revitalization Program, Small Business Support, Michigan Ready Sites Program, and our Pure Opportunity Business Marketing Campaign. Through consistent year-over-year funding for the Business Attraction Community Revitalization line item, along with the award-winning Pure Michigan campaign, we aim to build on our Make It in Michigan strategy by assisting small businesses, strengthening and revitalizing local communities, and attracting and retaining tourism to Michigan. Within the BACR line item, our funding allocation is broken down into the 3 categories you see for our active work projects. For expended, we've expended about 20% of our active work projects. Outstanding obligations, we have 53% of our active work projects, and committed 26%. We're incredibly proud of the impact and success that the programs within our BACR line item has delivered year over year, including 68 approved business development program projects that committed to create plus 7,200 jobs and plus $2.7 billion in 54 communities. In FY 2024, the Community Revitalization Program invested $30.1 million, leveraging $213.1 million in private investment in 8 communities. 13,691 small businesses supported and plus 850 new small businesses started. Identified or improved access to plus 750 acres of future industrial or commercial and land across the state, and 28,000 new leads for the state business attraction and retention efforts through our Pure Opportunity Business Marketing Campaign. And then Kristen.
Thanks, Joe. We thought it would be helpful to highlight some of the projects that are supported with this funding over the years, particularly at this moment in time, the Business Attraction and Community Revitalization Funding line, just to demonstrate some of the real-life impacts of this money. What you're seeing here on the screen is a Silbon Corporation located in Weston, Michigan. This received a Michigan Business Development Program grant of $900,000 to support some expansion efforts and build a semiconductor supply chain. That was in partnership with Lenaway Now. This project leveraged $7.9 million in investment. It was announced in November of 2023, and the ribbon cutting was held in July of 2024. An example of one of our of the 64 projects that Joe mentioned previously. The second example we want to highlight is a community development program or project. Excuse me. This included 2 different incentives from the Michigan Strategic Fund. This is a project that's an excellent example of a small business and a real estate development working together. The owners took on their first real estate development venture, and they transformed a functionally obsolete building in downtown Sheboygan into the future home of Sheboygan Coffee Roasters, along with a second-story apartment and some facade improvements. The MEDC supported this with a $25,000 match on Main grant to launch the coffee roasters, and that grant in particular supported the creation of 4 jobs and generated approximately $24,000 in investment. It supported the purchase of coffee bean inventory, the purchase of outdoor equipment, and the creation of some marketing and design elements such as packaging, building decals, and the building facade improvements there. The building itself was also supported by a $216,300 CRP grant, which helped fund the full rehabilitation of this functionally obsolete building. The CRP leverage on this was $377,290 of private investment for a total leveraged investment of over $400,000 for this project. This serves as a really good example of how MEDC tools can be effectively used to revitalize a building while also supporting the growth of a small business, or a new small business in this case.
Next, we'll touch on the Revitalization and Placemaking Program, or RAP. Through RAP, the MEDC partners with local communities to proactively address revitalization needs by investing in projects that promote population and tax revenue growth. These investments help create the environment These investments help create the environment necessary to attract and retain talent, add new housing options, enable business creation and attraction, and provide resources for Michigan citizens and communities. The first iteration of RAP program, launched in 2022, was an incentive program that deployed $100 million in American Rescue Plan funding to address the COVID-19 impacts in Michigan communities. The 2022 program, referred to as RAP 1.0, has selected successful applicants, and with all ARPA funds encumbered, projects will be in progress through 2026. The second round of the RAP program, referred to as RAP 2.0, received an appropriation of $100 million in a budget supplemental signed by Governor Whitmer on February 1st, 2023, demonstrating the great need identified for placemaking and building rehabilitation investments. As part of RAP 2.0, MEDC received approximately $500 million in applications for $100 million in appropriated funding. Revitalization and placemaking program funding beyond the first and second rounds is dependent on the availability of income tax revenue deposited into the Revitalization and Placemaking Fund and appropriated for this program as described in Section 696 of the Income Tax Act of 1967. The funding allocated for active work projects within RAP includes expending 15% of the funding, outstanding obligations of 44%, and committed of 22%. The RAP program has been incredibly successful and highly regarded in the past 3 years since its creation. In FY 2024 alone, RAP invested $116.5 million, leveraging $762.4 million in private investment in 63 communities.
Again, we wanted to highlight an early example of a project that was successful under this program. As Jill noted, this is a really, really popular program. Local communities particularly like it because it can support some really tangible place projects. One of these early success stories would be the historic development of the former Walter French Junior High School in Lansing. This was an adaptive reuse of a vacant historic junior high 2 miles south of our central business district and is helping to improve the quality of life for Lansing residents who struggle with housing security. The former classrooms in this building have been converted into 76 affordable apartment units. The natatorium, locker rooms, gyms, and auditorium have been renovated and converted into a child care center and a community resource center, offering meeting and collaboration space for community nonprofits. Earlier this year, actually, the facility opened its doors to the public and is in the process right now of accepting applications for residents or accepting residents.
Next, we will talk about the Small Business Support Hubs initiative, which is an investment into the state's entrepreneurial ecosystem, bringing new and scaled resources to Michigan businesses through an expert and collaborative partner network. This was initially funded, or this has been funded with $75 million in American Rescue Plan dollars back in FY23. By tapping into a statewide network of hubs, Michigan's small businesses can gain a competitive edge through comprehensive support and resources tailored to their unique needs. With 27 locations, each hub addresses the specific challenges and opportunities within its region, ensuring that services are not only comprehensive, but also highly relevant to local business climates. All hubs provide the following resources: one-on-one coaching, workshops and seminars, accelerator programs, networking and mentorship opportunities, capital access training, and/or lender referrals. These services are designed to assist businesses at every stage, whether starting out, seeking to expand their customer base, or scaling up their operations. Additionally, some hubs have an industry or other subject matter focus, such as a food innovation or specialized assistance for small manufacturers. All hubs function as both service providers and navigators within Michigan's entrepreneurial ecosystem and make direct referrals to other appropriate network resources when needed. Some hubs have a larger multi-regional service area or provide statewide services such as the Small Business Association of Michigan. The Small Business Support Program launched in spring 2024. Some of the impressive impacts to date are over 5,500 businesses engaged, 976 new business starts, attracted $155 million in follow-on funding, 48% of businesses supported were underserved businesses in rural and urban communities, 72% of the entrepreneurs served for the first time by ecosystem partners.
Squeaky microphone. Again, wanted to provide an example of this program at work. This is the demonstrating a small business support hub investment into Battle Creek Unlimited through the Battle Creek Food Reimagined initiative. It's a tremendous example of the current program's success, strengthening a best-in-class food innovation hub through a public-private partnership. The Small Business Support Hub's investment also leveraged federal funding to provide exceptional service to food and ag small businesses such as R&D, commercialization, production, supply chain, and operation support, and catalyzed $10.3 million in private investment to help the Battle Creek Innovation Center, which is officially launching later this year.
Next, we'll talk about the Strategic Outreach and Attraction Fund. In December 2021, Governor Whitmer signed bipartisan economic development bills into law that created the Strategic Outreach and Reserve Fund, or the SOAR Fund. These tools have been vitally important for Michigan to compete and secure transformational business retention and attraction projects while complementing our state's undeniable strengths and value propositions. There are two distinct programs within the SOAR Fund. Critical Industry Program, which provides investments to businesses for deal closing, gap financing, or other economic assistance to create or retain qualified jobs as a result of a technological shift in product or production, or make capital investments, or both, in Michigan. The emphasis of this fund is to help create and retain high-wage jobs in Michigan through transformational project investments. The second program, Strategic Site Readiness Program, provides grants, loans, and other economic assistance to help local partners and communities develop investment-ready sites to attract and promote new opportunities in the state. This aims to help us attract and spur new business growth in Michigan. When it comes to how SOAR is funded and logistically how the funding flows through, it is important to make notes of the following steps. SOAR is initially appropriated to the fund that is within LEO. SOAR funds are appropriated to MSF by either an approved legislative transfer or direct appropriation. MSF work projects are for CIP and SSRP projects or allocations that have received an approved legislative transfer or direct appropriation. Additionally, all projects supported by the SOAR Fund not only have to receive support in a public meeting of the MSF board, made up of bicameral and bipartisan appointees, they also need to be legislatively appropriated, meaning this body is a partner with our team in determining how these dollars are used for project opportunities. Of the active work projects for the SOAR Fund, there are currently expended, 52% of the funds have been expended, outstanding obligations account for 28%, and committed 10%. We have often reminded folks that the nature of these transformational projects involve a long lead time, and economic development itself is a long game. There are tremendous undertakings which often, by definition, involve the creation of more than 1,000 jobs and or an investment of more than $1 billion. In most cases, the facilities themselves don't exist yet, and so the process alone of building the actual facility that will house the activity and jobs inherently takes time. We're proud that overall these projects have already driven $3.4 billion investment to date, while having committed to create more than 15,900 jobs in communities across Michigan. Beyond the jobs and investments associated with these projects, they also often come with critical community benefits packages and agreements for the local communities that help improve the quality of life and drive additional resources to support more funding for schools, higher tax revenues, increase home values, and more.
Thanks, Jill. We wanted to share a status update and some examples of the SOAR funding at work. One example here that we're highlighting on the screen is the Corning project in Richland Township, which was a plan to construct a new facility that will manufacture solar components. The project is expected to generate more than $900 million in investment and aims to create more than 1,100 jobs with starting wages that exceed the median wage for the region. The MSF supported this project with a $68 million critical industry program grant to the company, while also supporting the necessary infrastructure upgrades with a $29 million strategic site readiness program grant to Thomas Township. Both of these grants are performance-based and include milestones for performance and other additional controls on the flow of funds. As states and nations tackle some alternative energy solutions, this project is helping us respond to a sharp rise in demand for solar power that our current domestic supply cannot meet. And we're doing this while also creating good-paying jobs that help build a cleaner future for our state. This one is in particular, I think, notable for its local support of the project, which includes partners at Saginaw Future and also a really strong collaborative effort by Richland, Thomas, and Saginaw Townships to achieve the necessary infrastructure upgrades. Our next slide that we wanted to highlight here is the Blue Oval project down in Calhoun County in Marshall, Michigan. In February 23, Ford announced its plans to build a new EV manufacturing facility in Michigan, creating the Blue Oval Michigan Battery Campus in Marshall. Right away, Ford and the local partners worked with the community to address their concerns and create a partnership where the locals had a voice in how this investment impacted their community, and the company committed to a community benefits plan to ensure they could give back. Some of the community benefits that we want to highlight here are designating more than 250 acres of the campus as a conservation area and protected hiking trails, which helps preserve some of the local habitats and wildlife, and planting more than 1,000 trees in some of the green spaces on the campus. As you can see, this project is still being constructed. In November of 23, they announced a retiming and a resizing of its investments, including the Marshall project, and we worked diligently with the company to develop a fair and revised incentive package. The restructured package appropriately and necessarily addressed the project's resizing while balancing their investment and growth in Michigan through this new campus in Marshall. The amendment to the project effectively amounted to a 2/3 reduction of its critical industry program grant down to $141 million for the creation of at least 1,700 jobs and capital investment of $2.5 billion, with the ability to earn up to a maximum of $166 million for 2,500 jobs and additional investment up to $3 billion. This is an example of how our team works to make sure that our agreements with companies are fair and responsible to the taxpayers we all answer to, and how we use an amendment process if and as needed to ensure that we get a fair deal with these transformational opportunities. Again, I want to highlight these are very much performance-based. Companies have to invest before they can access these dollars, and there are in each agreement has its own terms and conditions as to the specific performance milestones, but these are again performance-based, investment-driven, with job and investment commitments that, if not achieved, would result in a clawback of funds.
We're going to invite up Colonel John Gutierrez to discuss the Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation. Oh, sorry about that.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. In April of last year, Governor Whitmer announced the Michigan Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation as a mechanism really to grow and bolster the state's defense and aerospace market. Our mission at the Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation, or ODA, is to catalyze growth within the defense and aerospace sectors while advancing innovation, as well as defense research opportunities that benefit Michigan's economy. Our approach involves 3 lines of effort: to drive growth within the defense and aerospace sectors, to amplify Michigan's unique advantages, as well as to advance innovation through these sectors. This is significant because Our office supports a defense industry that contributes $30 billion to the state's economy, as well as provides more than 166,000 jobs for Michiganders. The industry is comprised of nearly 4,000 defense and 900 aerospace companies that service defense aerospace, as well as homeland security markets. We have a series of programs that support our 3 lines of effort to execute this. So first is a proposal grant and writing services. This helps Michigan companies bid on Department of Defense or Department of Homeland Security contracts. The grants will cover up to 50% or up to $10,000 of services contracted through our office's pre-qualified proposal writing firms based on applicant information. And what this does is makes our companies more competitive. Our cybersecurity program, the Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation, in partnership with the Economic Growth Institute at the University of Michigan, offers small and medium-sized defense contractors a comprehensive one-stop shop for Department of Defense cybersecurity compliance to secure defense industrial base and contracts. We also have a bid targeting system. This is an online program offered through our office that evaluates and scores companies similarly to a federal contracting officer. It provides small and medium-sized contractors with the same advantages as larger firms. The bid targeting system was developed to enhance evaluation and matching methods, as well as to optimize the alignment between business and defense contracting opportunities. In addition, we offer a very significant outreach, events, and engagement program. This includes events and efforts such as the Uncrewed Triple Challenge, defense and aerospace roundtables throughout the state, and an educational webinar series that we call the 2 at 2s. So the second Tuesday at 2 o'clock of every month. Newsletters and supplier assist visits, all with the theme of making our Michigan-based defense and aerospace businesses more competitive to win federal contracts. We also cover a number of defense and aerospace conferences, trade shows, and other events such as the Association of the United States Army's convention, the United States Navy's Sea, Air, and Space Maritime Exposition, Eurosatori, and other items. ODE supports the Michigan National Guard exercises and projects. Both types of engagements, personal and capital, have significant impacts in the surrounding communities. For example, the Uncrewed Triple Challenge. It's going to be occurring next month. Teams from across academia, military, government, and industry will compete in a 3-day Uncrewed Triple Challenge event, transporting a payload package across air, land, and maritime domains using uncrewed or drone systems. The race will begin at Alpena Harbor and Thunder Bay, and it will cross Michigan by air and our Great Lakes, and then conclude at Camp Grayling. Finally, ODE supports strategic partner grants and initiatives to support greater investment and growth within aerospace and defense in Michigan. Next slide, please. Of the funding allocation for the Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation, there's currently expended 26%, outstanding obligations are nearly 23%, committed and unobligated both at 23%. This funding has made a significant impact throughout the state, and many of the outcomes are included here. So, expanded reach. The Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation manages, as I mentioned, a comprehensive outreach campaign to engage and connect Michigan's defense and aerospace communities. Part of this outreach campaign includes routine stakeholder engagements with leaders from government, industry, and academia. The goal is to raise awareness, provide valuable information, and cultivate positive relationships, as well as to provide information on opportunities for our Michigan-based companies. The team has successfully engaged Michigan's defense and aerospace community, connecting with over 2,300 participants through a series of webinars, town hall events, and other special events. Our office has also averaged 15 supplier visits per month to assist our companies in being more and more competitive. In addition, our ecosystem asset development, we have invested $1 million into the National Guard's National All-Domain Warfighting Center Mission Training Complex with an anticipated 1 to 50 return on investment via capture of federal funding. CyberSmart. This is another program managed by our office. It leverages nearly $1 million of Department of Defense funding. The cyber program has been able to support over 100 companies to date in pursuing Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC. This is a critical and necessary requirement for our companies to be able to secure federal Department of Defense contracts. In addition, we've helped lower barriers to entry for our Michigan-based defense and aerospace companies. We've supported 6 domestic and international business delegations where over 60 Michigan-based companies have participated. I'd like to just highlight an example of success. So Calumet Electronics Corporation was founded in 1968 and specializes in delivering zero field failure printed circuit board solutions in North America. This strengthens the domestic industrial, power, aerospace, defense, medical, and commercial industries. Calumet Electronics currently employs 351 people in the Upper Peninsula and is going to construct a 60,000 square foot manufacturing facility to onshore organic substrate production for the country, especially as it relates to communications and electronic warfare. The project will result in capital investment of up to $50,984,840 in charter townships of Calumet in Houghton County. This includes the retention of 269 jobs and the upskilling of at least 40 existing positions, with the support of $7.5 million, the Michigan Business Development Program performance-based grant. The Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation team has played a critical role in identifying and securing funding from the federal match fund at the time, which enabled Calumet Electronics to draw down the $40 million in the Department of Defense's Defense Production Act Investment Title III funds. This award will enable Calumet to scale up engineering, tooling, and manufacturing operations to establish domestic production capabilities for high-density buildup substrates. These high-density buildup substrates and advanced packaging are critical enabling technologies for 6th-generation systems and applications, including for radar, electronic warfare, processing, and communications. And by securing this effort for Calumet, we're building on Michigan's robust defense assets and industry strengths, even in the far reaches of our Upper Peninsula. The Office of Defense and Aerospace Innovation worked closely with the projects team at the MEDC to champion this investment opportunity, demonstrating the significant opportunity that this opportunity would play in bolstering Michigan's national defense and security. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Next, we'll have Allison Watson come up and talk about the Michigan Arts and Cultural Council.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me be here. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about the Michigan Arts and Culture Council. So I have just 2 slides for you today. So the Michigan Arts and Culture Council was established in 1966, and our goal is to make sure that there are arts and cultural programming, arts and cultural information, grants, and other sources available for communities and citizens across the state of Michigan. We want to make sure that that there's a vibrant arts and cultural scene, and that it's important to not only communities, but quality of life and thriving economy. The council itself, excuse me, guides the distribution of resources to ensure that all communities thrive from the civic, economic, and educational benefits of arts and culture. In fiscal year 25, we are offering 3 key programs, which is a little bit different from years in the past. We worked closely with the Office of Continuous Improvement and through the Lean Process Improvement Program to work with the field and work with other grant funders, governor-appointed council members, as well as philanthropic partners to work through a way to streamline, remove redundancy, improve efficiencies, to offer just 3 programs instead of the 9 programs that we used to have. So in 25, we have our mission support, which provides funding to eligible 501c3 nonprofit arts and cultural organizations throughout Michigan, still able to receive a variety of funding through those programs to support mission, capital improvement, professional development, arts education, transportation, and things like that. We also have experience support funding for arts and cultural related projects in Michigan organizations, and this is for organizations whose primary focus is not arts and culture. So if you think about K through 12 schools, colleges, universities, municipalities, nonprofits that don't focus on arts and culture. So Boys and Girls Clubs is just one example. We also then have a partnership program, and that program provides funding to organizations that offer statewide or regional arts and cultural services to Michigan communities to help expand access to not only organizations in their community, but also the residents. For an example of this organization would be something like the Michigan Museums Association, who is a statewide membership organization that serves museums across the state of Michigan. So for 2025, our funding has been expended, although we don't have our final reporting since we're still in the middle of it. So I did want to share with you funding allocations from fiscal year 24. So all of 24 included not only our general fund dollars, but also our arts and cultural nonprofit relief funds. In all total, we had just over 14 million. The exact number is on the screen, to expend in those, which led to just over $9.7 million going in general fund to over 1,000 different grants across 74 counties in our state. And then the $5 million in the nonprofit culture relief funds went to 123 organizations in 26 counties. Thinking about some ROI on that money, so through that total of 14.7 million-ish, we were able to engage more than 16 million individuals through the programming. 3.9 million young people were included in that number, and we were able to work with more than 176,000 artists across the state. So, and then real quick, one more slide, just because it's a fun little project. This is an image from the Fresh Waves project in Alpena, Michigan. They received a $14,000 grant in 2004 that supported a public art project led by the Alpena Downtown Development Authority to add 4 vibrant, one-of-a-kind murals in downtown Alpena between July and September of 2024. Four little comments about it. The DDA noticed that more community members expressed pride and enjoyment from the murals, citing them as a key part of their downtown's identity. And because of the award through our grant programs, the DDA was able to attract a much more diverse set of artists from all over the country who brought a diversity of styles and content to the city's public art scene. They were also able to hire more established artists from Michigan, as well as increase the funding that they could pay them. And the DDA volunteers and staff heard a significant number of positive comments about the murals, which helped foster a renewed sense of community pride and excitement around their downtown. So, thank you very much. Whoop, that's yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, I'd like to give a status of our legislative directive grants for FY24 and FY25. Starting with FY24, we have successfully executed 87 one-time grants, achieving 100% execution rate with 59% of the funds dispersed. Moving on to FY25, there are 62 one-time grants. We have received 92% of the legislative sponsored packets required for these grants. 68% of them have been executed, and 16% of the funds have been dispersed. As of March 15th, the MEDC posted a report of the FY25 legislative directed grants on our website. The report must state the grant recipient, the purpose of the project purpose, the location of the project, the status of the funds allocated and dispersed under the grant agreement, the legislative sponsor, and the legislative sponsor if applicable. The report will be updated and reposted twice a year, no later than June 15th and then no later than September 15th. This will ensure that the most comprehensive information is available at the time of posting for all grants awarded. The process is aimed at ensuring transparency and accountability in the grant allocation and disbursement process. MSF federal dollars. Federal funds account for 2.4% of MSF's ongoing budget and for 3 annual federal awards. First, the Department of Interior Historic Preservation Fund grants and aid program to support the State Historic Preservation Office activities. The most current award was $4.8 million, and it does require a 40% state match. Second, National Endowment for the Arts, promotion of arts partnership agreement to provide grants through the Michigan Arts and Cultural Council. The most award was a little under $1,999,125, and it requires a 1-to-1 state match. Lastly, Small Business Administration State Trade Expansion Program that supports small businesses to begin or expand exporting into international markets. $900,000 was the most current federal award and requires a 25% state match. Next, going over FTE and work plan status. As you are all aware, MEDC is a public-private quasi-government agency with both civil service state employees as well as corporate employees. To date, we have 342 FTEs at MEDC, with 125 employees being civil service state and 217 being corporate. Both counts also include limited term positions. As a reminder, Section 215 of Public Act 121 of 2024 and the FY25 Omnibus budget requires departments and agencies to report quarterly on FTE counts by classification and actual FTE position counts compared to authorized FTE position counts. This report was last delivered on January 24, 2025 to represent the first quarter of this year of our FTE count. As for work status, we have 79 field-based employees, largely within our regional development team, which intentionally has team members living and working in all 10 prosperity regions across the state to truly be embedded in our local communities and able to advocate for opportunities that work for each unique town and city. Meanwhile, we have 263 employees who are office-based, and MEDC offers office space both at our headquarters in downtown Lansing and in dedicated space at New Lab in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood. Management and operation process for our work projects and federal spending. For oversight and budgeting, we establish budgets to ensure that all spending aligns with both federal and state regulations. Also, regarding payment requests and reporting, because our programs are performance-based, funds are not given all at once. When we announce a project is receiving a state incentive for their investment, that does not mean the money goes out the door yet. They must sign an agreement, demonstrate their performance, and hit certain milestones first before any state money is dispersed. Compliance and clawbacks. Agreements are subject to a robust compliance process, which includes verification that required investment has been made at the project and that the required number of jobs are created by the awardee. Our contracts protect the state of Michigan with clawback provisions, providing repayment for breach of the agreement or the failure to meet measurable outcomes. Through these measures, we aim to maintain a high level of integrity and accountability in the management of state and federal funds. Thank you for your time today. A reminder to contact Tupac, Bree, or Danielle if we can ever be of additional support, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. That was a lot of information, and I appreciate all of that. Yeah, I do have some questions. First, regarding work projects and the money that's allocated. So every year, say for it's the business attraction and community revitalization, it's $100 million line item, but then that goes into a work project, I believe, over time. So, but when we were looking back over the years, we saw that there's money that's still left in that fund, even back to fiscal year 2021. So it looks like just a little more than half of it has been spent. So what happens to that money when it hasn't been spent from 3 years ago?
Well, we do, so because of the timing with how projects are done, we'll have money sitting that's obligated, typically in, older work projects. It's just that as the milestones are coming due and as the funds are being spent, that's why you'll see that it can take several years for those work projects to be spent down, and you'll see, different dollar amounts in different years for those. The 2021 work project was fully expended as of the end of last year, so that one was fully expended. So right now we have 3 open work project years, FY22, 23, and 24, and it's just kind of depending on where the project is at its stage, the funds, it does take some time to spend down the funds.
So the $100 million is, it's fully spent every year, fully obligated every year. It's just that it's a work project.
It may not be fully obligated, which is why we will request work project, up into the timeline that we need, or the timeline that's set for 48 months. And it's just we try to spend down as much as the oldest one as we can first, but it's just depending on where projects are in the stages, we can't always do that. That's why we usually typically have a couple years, like 2-3 years open at one time.
Okay, I'm just kind of wondering, is that 100 million too much? Maybe,
No.
so.
Yeah, we do have very robust pipelines for projects, as well as we use it, as we were saying, for a couple different programs with the Build Ready sites and small business support. So we do have needs for that funding.
Okay. And then I also had a couple questions for the arts and culture regarding that, if you don't mind coming forward. So for the fiscal year 2024, you indicated there was roughly 1,200 grants that were given out. I just wondered if that covers also maybe sub-grants, if those are provided beyond those initial grants that were put out?
It does. So when we report in September of a given year, that is what our initial funding plan looks like. Included in that list we'll have our regranters or our regranting partners. We'll have, for example, the Michigan Humanities Council, we work with them. Their initial award at the beginning of the year is $140,000. $80,000 of that is earmarked to go for touring arts grants that is open to organizations. So when we report at the end of the year, we are reporting what their service line was, and then we're able to take how that $80,000 went out into the communities and have, Owasso Community County Library received $1,000 through touring arts, and we're able then to provide that detailed breakdown of how that $80,000 went back out in the state.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So there is some tracking of the funds that go to these subgroups and that
Absolutely,
sort of thing.
yeah.
So-
And I'm happy to provide that with
Okay.
you. Yeah, we have it. I should have brought it. Darn it. I just did a sheet that had what we originally put out in '24, and then highlighted through everything that was a subgrant, or maybe they weren't able to complete the project, and so funds were returned, and did it go out to another regranting partner if an organization moved from one county into a different county. So why all those numbers? So we just I just had that report yesterday at my fingertips, and I was like, should I print it? Nah, I won't print it. But I can easily get that to you this afternoon.
Okay, that'd be great. And then I just had one more
Sure.
regarding rural.
We can talk about arts and culture all day. I would love to.
Just regarding rural areas
Sure.
and their ability to access the grants too. A lot of times they don't have the money for a match or things like that.
Yep.
So how do they play into all of this, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked this. So we went through about an 18-month process with the Office of Continuing Improvement and the LPI team there. And so what we did was we reduced the match down. So we were able to come to an agreement on a 25% cash match instead of a 1-to-1. We also found out that with our NEA partners, the match doesn't have to come through the subgranting that we do, the pass-through of our federal dollars, that as long as the state is matching those funds, that is good enough for them. And so that then allows us to only, we worked with the Attorney General's office to make sure that a 25% match was good, and they approved that. So having the 25% match instead of the 1-to-1 match reduces down. So we also changed for fiscal year 25, we no longer have a tiered system. So the bigger budget that you have, the more money that you could ask for. Now it's a straight, there's a max. And so as long as you're able to make that 25% match to it, you're able to request the $25,000. And that's just one example. There's other programs because we still wrapped in capital improvement, professional development, arts equipment and supplies, travel grants, which we found was for kids to take field trips. Sorry, I just keep going on and on. We also changed the program too. Instead of having the huge narrative and there was a grant for each program, it's now rolled into one, and it's compliance-based, so that as long as you have your UEI, your unique identity number, your EIN up to date, your 990s with the IRS, your filings with LARA, your charitable solicitation registration is all set within the AG's office, and then provide documentation. So that's sort of initial one of compliance. And then we no longer ask for the 4-page narrative for each project. We're asking for synopsises instead of it sort of, was a little bit harder, I think, for rural organizations to get the funding because you had a 4-page narrative you had to write and explain what you did, how you reported, what your impact was, and we took that all out so that it's boxes and texts to fill out. We got rid of the peer review process, so it becomes compliant-based. If it's yes, 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 then you're getting the funding, instead of somebody saying, well, I kind of like this, or maybe I didn't understand. I prefer dance over musical theater. And so, or even just how somebody wakes up that day and maybe they didn't have enough coffee or didn't get enough sleep because their dogs kept them up all night. Maybe speaking from personal opinion or personal experience, but then that isn't reflected in how they review a grant now. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
sorry, that was a lot.
That's all right.
I love talking about this stuff.
Rep. Robinson has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my question is actually about aeronautics. Before you leave, I have to say,
Yeah.
I can see your excitement. For those naysayers who say, well, what does Michigan get out of these types of programs? I would invite them to ask anybody in Grand Rapids. I'm a big fan of Art Prize, and so I
great.
thank you for that. But
Well,
yeah.
and aren't you're Macomb County,
Yes.
right? Warren Symphony. We've
Yes.
supported Warren Symphony for a long time. Been there. I actually could speak to all of them. I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. You can still enjoy arts and culture.
And I know in Utica we didn't get grant money for this, but there was an artist who just put that awesome mural over by the
Yeah.
Shamrock, and it definitely adds and gives the Utica a new identity. So.
But we have funded in Utica, just not this year, in the schools. We've done some of the work. I'll have to pull a history of the Utica schools, and I can get it to you.
Thank you for your hard work. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. Thank you.
no problem.
But yeah, as I mentioned, if you could come up, sir, I have a question about the Office of Defense. If I could, real quick, I'll make this quick. I know we had a prelude about that, but
Good morning.
how you doing? Thank you for coming. Thank you for presentation. But I want to talk to you because your mission, I'm looking at what your mission is to catalyze growth within the state's defense and aerospace sectors while advancing innovation and defense research opportunities that benefit Michigan. I want to get into the weeds a little bit. What does that look like? Because what's the objective? How is this going to benefit Michigan? I know this was a federal started program, but I just wanted, if you could talk about in the weeds of what that looks like in real time.
Yes, sir, I'm happy to. So currently, what we are focused on is codifying this in a strategic plan. In mid-January of this year, Governor Whitmer kicked off what was known as the Michigan Military Advisory Board. What that means is we have 4 retired 3- and 4-star admirals and generals that are part of that. We have the 2 co-chairs of the Michigan Legislative Aerospace and Defense Caucus, so Senator Weber as well as Representative McKinney. In addition, we have 2 representatives, 3 folks from the MEDC, I'm included as well, and then we have Major General Paul Rogers, the Adjutant General for the state. We are codifying this as we speak today, kind of what this all means, but we have identified that mission statement. And what we're trying to do, what the aim or the goal is really to increase defense contract spend within the state. And when we talk about advancing innovation and defense research projects, so there's a considerable amount of research and development dollars provided by the Department of Defense for multiple research, applied direct research activities within defense. So we have a number of initiatives that we're still working through. One of those is to establish a university-affiliated research consortium, those are sanctioned by the Department of Defense. There's a number of those now. And what we have done, our office met with 10 of the state's colleges, deans of the colleges of engineering, just before the holidays. And there's significant interest, and I think that's only growing. I don't know if that answers your question, sir, as far as what that means in terms of innovation or defense research.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is what's the when you see aerospace, you think, aliens, but aliens, at least historically, haven't proved that they're coming here if they exist. But so what kind of innovations, is it something that's going to benefit our military?
Yes, sir. So we are.
Talk on that, please. Thank you.
We are completely focused on supporting the Department of Defense and really making our companies, our defense and aerospace companies within the state, most competitive as we can to compete and win those defense contracts because they provide great paying jobs, opportunities, and it's for the defense of our country, which I'm very passionate about. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I just have one more question on work projects. So, say a project is, the money is committed, but then we have found out it's no longer needed, say like with the Ford Blue Oval. Where does that money go after that? Does it go back into the fund or where does that go?
It does stay initially with the work project up to that timeline of up to 48 months. So it will stay with the work project until it would be until it would lapse.
Or be committed.
Or be committed on with in a future project.
So I think, correct me if I'm, or clarify anything. So in the case of the Ford Blue Over, there was a reduction. So that money lapse back into the critical industry program fund
correct.
itself. So it is sitting in the program because there was a legislative transfer of that money. But because, as you point out, we resized the project, so now it is in the critical industry program grant fund on a work project. It is available to use on other projects, or if we don't, then I think at the end of that work project would lapse back to the SOAR fund, would be my,
Yep.
I believe. Is that right?
Yep, that is
Yeah.
correct.
And who makes if it is used for another project, who makes a decision on what that project would be then? Is that?
Yeah, so we would do the typical process where we would review a project, we would go through a presentation to the Michigan Strategic Fund Board, and then seek another, I think we would probably seek another legislative transfer, even though the money's in the program, for transparency's sake, want to get that in front of the legislature.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much for all this information today. Appreciate all of you coming in and sharing with us. I forgot to approve the minutes, so we will have Rep. Robinson. Actually, we'll do Rep. Martis will move to approve the minutes of April 16th meeting. There being no objections, the minutes are approved. Also, we are going to, Rep. Robinson moves to excuse absent members. There being no objections, the motion prevails by unanimous consent. So without any further business, this committee is adjourned.